Well, everyone's kind of saying, well, Terra Luna burns are finished. Binance is going to run off into the sun and no longer support the chain. I thought we'd talk about something a little bit different on this video. You know how I like to bring you the latest and greatest, but we'll talk about a big update potentially coming for Terra Luna Classic. When we talk about decentralized exchanges and dApps, I want to take you through a few proposals coming through and, more importantly, the Terra Station, Rebel Station debate and what that proposal does look like. So let's get into this video. Now, here we go. With the total global market currently sits 859.56 billion. We are up 2.18%. We had a really nice pump earlier on this evening. You see there Bitcoin at 17.2, 2% up on the 24-hour, with Ethereum sitting at 3.49, as well as a number of other coins really starting to move. BNB up 2% as we move down the market. Lots of green to look at. And when we get into the technicals, it certainly is even more interesting as we come all the way back down to the 42nd highest ranked cryptocurrency. You can see Terra Luna Classic up 5.86%. Our volume up a massive 85%, which is exactly what we want to see. And our market cap well over that $1 billion mark, which is good to see. Completely outperforming Bitcoin and Ethereum. So Terra Luna Classic really taking the lion's share of some volume. When we come over and look at the chart, we drew this the other day on the live stream. It's absolutely respecting these lines we drew. You can almost see it just touches exactly where we thought of that 16.2 range, and then had a big bounce off yesterday. We just continue into the new day here in the UK, and as you see, it's starting to mint all the way up. We could, and I would like to see us test that 18, potentially with a rejection as the 50-day EMA starts to come down. And like we said, we want to start to look at a potential break somewhere around here to the upside. Now, we could always get a downside move, but certainly the sentiment feels like it's shifting both in the entire market and, more importantly, in Luna Classic. It does feel like we've settled down after all of that noise around the Terra Station, Rebel Station, and again, we're going to be getting into that in just a second. But before we go any further, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We are well on our way to 15,000 subscribers. I appreciate every single one of you. Leave a like on the video, and let's kind of get into a bit more interesting topics now. Terra Classic Community DEX. This is a proposal put forward by Johnny, one of the members of the community. And ultimately, there are four main points to this. And again, you'll hear me talk about this on a number of my videos. To generate revenue at a protocol level. So actually, it is fundamentally built into the blockchain. Refill the Oracle and community pools and burn the Lunacy supply. Imperative that we are both supporting the validators that maintain the blockchain and the community pool to allow us to go and build some of these decentralized exchanges and applications. Develop a strategy to make the platform self-sustainable and innovative to re-establish Terra Classic as a top DeFi protocol, which I think you and I both believe that to be the case. Now, you can see a couple of stats here. The Oracle pool contains currently 280 billion Luna Classic tokens, 1 billion USTC, around $65 million. So everyone that's saying staking's going to fall to pieces and we're absolutely eroding it, think about that, $65 million sat in our Oracle pool. However, that is not being replenished right now, so we do need to find ways of replenishing it. Likewise with that community pool to allow us to go and build and ultimately fund some brilliant projects on Terra Luna Classic. Now, there's a couple of proposals that I just think are worthwhile. I will leave this link so you can come and have a look at this yourself in the description, so come and check it out. But I'm going to give you just a quick whistle-stop tour, ultimately what there is being proposed. So you can see the Liquidity Core module. It is a Uniswap v3 DEX implemented as a Cosmos Core module, listing LUNC USTC. Users can already swap LUNC to USTC in Terra Station, but the swap is routed to an external decentralized application and is not part of the protocol. So ultimately allowing swap, and then it opens an avenue up to a number of other opportunities, particularly swapping coins around. It says this is not a Terra market swap, and it is not the swap used to peg USTC to USD. It simply allows you to swap your LUNC to USTC in Terra Station. This is not a dApp, and the protocol is the liquidity provider, keeping everything in-house. It goes on to talk a little bit about exactly what that will be used. The funds are not taken out of the protocol, so they stay within the protocol on Terra Luna Classic, which I think is important. Gives us a more obvious way of how this kind of routing would work, how after a year or so it would work, the V2 strategy, etc., and the revenue estimation, which I think is important to think about as it kind of talks to there. But daily trading volume of $10 million with a swap fee of 1%. And equally, then we would have a 10 million liquidity position. Borrowing 10 million out of the pool, the Oracle pool, would give us 40,000 per day of revenue per transaction fees, and it does not take into account auto compounding. These are the things that ultimately become self-sustainable, and then we can use that funding to either burn Terra Luna Classic, to auto compound, like it's saying, to really support the network even further. But ultimately, it is a DEX that supports the ecosystem. Now they have Terra indices. More volume means more trading fees, so we need more pairs than Lunk USTC. Obviously, we don't want to become the new Osmosis. On the other hand, we need to increase the protocol revenue. So think about that $40,000 that could come from just the Lunk USTC pairing. Imagine then if we have Luna USTC, Atom USTC, and I've talked about these bonds, these partnerships with Luna, with Atom, the re-enablement of IBCs. These are important as we build into some of these pair listings to increase volume, increase transactions, increase those fees, which ultimately then would support the ecosystem. So to further increase the trading volume and innovative, we will offer DeFi powered Terra indices, a one-click swap to exchange your Lunk or UST for an index. And here's the kind of important thing around this: as we look to repegging USTC, that could become the stable part of any of these dexes, and equally the continuous solid price point in which we can trade in and out. So I do think it's important to think about that, and more importantly, to think about how we then look to repeg that USTC. It goes on a few things. It said it burns Lunk and gives utility to USTC, and we'll start with one index, the Lunk Luna, but we'll support more in the future as new listings are added. So really important to think about. You can see there the mint and redeem proposal on there. Now, flash loans for flash swaps is a very interesting concept. In simple terms, it's the possibility of risk-free profit after transaction costs. For example, an arbitrage opportunity is present when there is possibility of instantaneously buying something very low price and sell for a higher. Flash loans are uncollateralized loans without borrowing limits in which our user borrows funds and return them to the same transaction. The user can repay the loan before the transaction is completed. A smart contract cancels the transaction and returns the money to the lender. So again, it allows us, part of that smart contract being built on, to basically allow a risk-free opportunity to trade. And equally, it says they're lending initially with flash loans to allow the protocol to flash swap, and the ARB is on. Pools will increase the trading volume of the DEX while generating a risk-free yield on the token from the Oracle pool. Again, we are increasing trading fees, we are increasing the Oracle pool generation. More and more things are coming down. And then finally, it talks about the funding and development costs. Now, it's obviously a big topic when it comes to Terra Luna Classic and the cost of everything. Fundamentally, as with anything, you increase your volumes, you increase your revenue generation, then the costs become a lot more palatable. It says funding will be requested using the community spend proposal and paid in Lunk USD amounts are only used for illustration purposes. We use a reference rate of Lunk USD. 2 senior developers over 2 months and 1 senior quantitative analysis dedicated to the market of arbitrage. It includes full testing, and equally it says there, look, so liquidity core module will be $50,000 US, flash swaps 30,000, Terra indices 20k, liquidity strategy and arbitrage will be 25,000, and the total cost $125,000 to implement these. You can see it there in 3 separate modules. Now, this is the important bit of the community pool, why it's so important when we talk about it. We come over here onto Rebel Station, take a look at exactly what it is. 2.04 billion, it's about $375,000 currently sits in there with Luna Classic. When we're then talking about spending, you know, 125,000 on these, which for me feel like great opportunities. That's why it's important. We have to find ways of regenerating that community pool, and I do think it's important. So finally, just a couple of other little bits for you in this pretty long video actually. Budgeted work. Terra Rebels continue to provide software, clients and infrastructure for validators and community, working to make the chain independent. Separation of Rebel Station from TFL backend infrastructure and assets. A new proposal put forward on this by Terra Rebels, ultimately to move everything on to here, the Rebel Station, which, don't forget, is a UI that interacts with the blockchain, nothing else, as opposed to Terraform Labs supporting Terra Station. We do know that both will run side by side. They both will support everything you've got, so don't panic. You don't have to move anything off Terra Station just yet. Pretty in-depth look at those dexes. I'm pretty excited in terms of what's coming in. This is exactly what we need. We need building, we need ideas, and ultimately we now need to be, you know, grown up and talk about costs and value returns, and I think it's important. But let me know in the comments, what of those decks are you most excited about? Do you think we should go for it? 125k price tag, is it worth it? That's going to be the question that everyone's going to be asking. As ever, thank you so much for all your support. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, turn that notification bell on so you can either join me when I go live at 9 PM GMT every night, or when we upload a new video. You have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.